Coming at you live from all over Ohio. A Cleveland Browns podcast full of laughs, rants, fun, and stats. A place where all Browns fans' voices are welcome and heard. A show that aims to inform and entertain you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Barking Browns Show.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday to you. Welcome in. It is episode 98 of the Barking Browns Show. I'm Jacob. That's Nick. We're brought to you, as always, by our friends over at Homage Apparel. Listen, we got playoff basketball back in the land, so we are sporting a couple of Homage Cavs t-shirts going on to celebrate the Cavs locking down home court advantage, at least in the first round of the postseason. Playoff basketball is back. Nick, how are you this evening?
Well, I was excited, and then our good friend Drew over here says he'd rather have a Tim Misney commercial. So, which
we'll see what we can do.
We'll get working on that. Maybe he'll, he talked about how many billboards he has across Ohio. Maybe we can get him to put a billboard on the network 216.
Just put a billboard in my room.
There it is.
Here. We just put it up here on the wall back here. It's just, we'll get you. We'll do what we can do, and we'll see who we can get, and we'll ride through there.
We have one more issue to address. Drew's on point today. What happened?
So what happened was that the mustache was so a little bit ridiculous that it was getting in my mouth, and it was just like I could see it in my peripherals. It was just like bushed out real bad, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I had to move on.
Well, I'll tell you what, MC's happy about it, but I'm personally not, because if Jacob had still had his mustache, I was going to come just mustache. That was going to be a thing. So maybe we'll do that for you sometime soon here.
I mean, it feels like you should still do it. Guys, welcome in. If you're new to the channel, we really appreciate you guys being here. Consider hitting that sub button if you like what you're seeing and you're enjoying yourself tonight. Please give us that thumbs up. It helps us greatly in the algorithm. We made YouTube partner over the weekend, which is a testament to all you amazing people out there that spend your time with us each and every week. And we love you very, very dearly. And coming up this weekend, we are going to launch our Discord server, which will come with a membership to the channel. It'll be a $4 a month membership to get in on the Discord. And going forward, Tyler and I are going to work on some film breakdowns that are probably going to be exclusively for members at the $10 a month tier or something like that. I think we're going to work on adding some of those stuff, but listen, that sub, all that stuff helps us out greatly. We really appreciate you. Mitch is up in the airport in Columbus watching us all the way up from the airport. So we appreciate you up there, Mitch, waiting to pick somebody up and bring him back down this way. So tonight we got a great show for you guys. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the discourse going on around the Browns, and then we are going to launch into our first live mock draft. I have decided to allow Nick to drive the bus. I'm actually driving the bus, so to speak, because I have the actual simulators up on my computer. But we will be talking through a whole mess of prospects, making some picks, talking some scenarios, doing all kinds of really interesting things, I think, with that tonight. Going into Friday will be – well, I'm off the top. Friday's draft episode is slot corners. So we got some slot. I will have a draft episode up on Friday morning about slot corners. Very excited about my latest draft crush, who is a slot corner that plays safety.
We'll see if I am Ray Farmer or if I'm Andrew Berry.
Yeah, Mitch says I actually drive a bus. He's right. He does drive a bus.
That's awesome.
Well, we'll see. We will see, Nick. We will see where you are. So I know there was a couple of things you wanted to talk about. And we start with the Deshaun Watson contract conversation. Just a couple of quick hitters before we launch into the draft. Very interesting thing about the Deshaun Watson conversation with his contract and how it's affecting the Baltimore Ravens. The very interesting thing is that today, not today. Yes, it was today. Jimmy Haslam at the owners meeting said that he essentially, I'm paraphrasing, they have no regrets in giving that contract to Deshaun Watson. It's what they felt they needed to do. They still feel like they needed to do it. Give them the competitive advantage of getting Watson, blah, 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 basically is what he was saying. And he doesn't regret it in any way, shape, or form. But Nick, I know you have some thoughts about that situation, what's going on with Baltimore. So I will give the floor to you.
Okay. I appreciate it, Jacob. Yeah, you know what? There was some interesting news that came out today, but I think that this conversation for me starts with Lamar Jackson and officially announcing that he wanted a trade from Baltimore, that he had requested it earlier this month, which was quite the bombshell, I think, when it was dropped. And a lot of people have,
because it was like it happened 25 days ago. It was like, what?
Yeah. And so I think it definitely caught a lot of people by surprise. I mean, I think in Baltimore, they knew that this was coming to a crossroads, but maybe more leaned that it could be salvageable. And I think when Lamar officially requests a trade, that's the tipping point that says, okay, maybe now it's more likely that Lamar is not going to be in Baltimore moving forward. So we'll see how that situation develops. But I think the important part here is that when you're getting experts that are talking about this now, and people that are far smarter than I. And I had asserted before that a byproduct of signing Deshaun Watson could be really beneficial to the Browns. Okay, the point of signing Deshaun Watson is not to price anyone else out of the market. The point of signing Deshaun Watson is to lock up your franchise quarterback. However, there is an added bonus that if you are in a situation where you're giving him a raise, if you're going to have your answer for the next 4 years, and 2 of the 3 other teams in your division need to pay their quarterback upcoming, there is an added bonus, if you will, or there can be an added benefit of making it more difficult for those teams, especially one that is notoriously cheap and another one that has had a former MVP that obviously they've had contract issues with this point, because he was an MVP in 2019, and here we sit in 2023 and there's still no extension. Right. And so you would think that and yes, when Lamar won the MVP, they weren't talking contract at that point, but you would think moving forward beyond that they would want to keep that guy long term. And so the point is they failed to get a deal done. And Andrew Berry, I think, knew that. And when you have that opportunity to sign Deshaun, it makes sense. It makes sense to say, okay, what is the landscape? And when you look even beyond the scope of your own division, Justin Herbert needs to be paid. Trevor Lawrence is going to need to be paid. Trying to think about the other AFC. Well, obviously we know Joe Burrow is going to get paid. But my point is there are many quarterbacks, at least 4 in the AFC that are upcoming that are going to need to get paid. And if you reset the contract, the quarterback contract market, you could say, okay, we don't have to worry about this for at least 4 more years beyond now. And all these other teams have to worry about it presently. And when you are the Browns and you're trying to win immediately, you can't tell me that that's not at least a little piece to this puzzle. I know I took a roundabout way of getting here, but I just think that Andrew Berry is if there was ever a Browns GM that was truly going to play chess instead of checkers, if you'll follow me along with that little term people like to use, I think it's Andrew Berry. And I think that was part of the consideration in giving Deshaun the money that they did.
Yeah, and I, you know what? I've talked ad nauseum about the contract, man. You do what you got to do to win football games, I think, is and that's what the Browns thought they were doing. I think that's where they were with the contract. The contract was just to make sure it put them over the top, and it did.
Yep.
Whether you want to admit it or not, that's what a lot of it came down to. Drew brings up this Meek Mill telling Kraft to go get Lamar that he wants to go to New England. There's one of my favorite stories of the week. That was the one, comes out of left field, and I was just like, Sure. Now we got Meek Mill trying to negotiate, not negotiate contracts, but he's trying to hey man, maybe you should go get my boy Lamar. And you know what? You know where I don't want to see him? I don't want to see him in New England. That's intriguing.
Yeah.
You know where he goes? You know what? I'm going to do it. We're going to launch into draft talk here in just a second. But before then, I think Lamar Jackson is a Colt.
I do too.
I think he's a Colt.
It makes the most sense. The Indianapolis has been trying to find this quarterback. They've been going the veteran route, right? And it would be a tremendous opportunity for them to finally, you've got Michael Pittman, you've got Jonathan Taylor, you've got a good offensive line, you've got a defense led by Darius Leonard. There's a lot of pieces to like in Indianapolis, and I think if they could just get a quarterback, they would be pretty good.
One of my favorite podcasts, my favorite draft podcast is the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. For anybody that hasn't listened to it, it's a PFF podcast with Trevor Sikkema and Connor Rogers, and I think they're two of the best in the game, absolutely 100%. And today, not today, it was yesterday, but I was listening. Sometimes it takes me a while to get through podcasts. In this particular episode, it's 2 hours long, so it's been taking me a little bit while. It's phenomenal content. But they were talking about the fact that with the Lamar thing, if you sign him and you got to give him the 2-1s, what you could do is do it after the draft if you're in Indianapolis and still have the 4th overall pick to get like Paris Johnson Jr. at left tackle, if that's what you want to do, or Will Anderson, who's just a generational, I think, talent at pass rush. I don't know if he's generational talent, but Will Anderson's a hell of a pass rusher from Alabama. Sure. You could even trade back a little bit, get Jackson Smith and Jigba. You could do all kinds of crazy things and use that 4th overall pick and then potentially get Lamar Jackson. And it just becomes this really just intriguing. And as a guy that loves football first and foremost, it would just be really, really really exciting. Thoughts on Jimmy Haslam saying we're going to renovate the old stadium? I think he's lying. That stadium is a dump. I agree. My thoughts on that are he did, Nick. I don't know if you missed this. There was they put it out from the Browns official Twitter account. Yeah. So it was on the Browns website and stuff too, that Haslam's focused on revamping that and also sprucing up the shoreline. And I can believe that part, but I believe that part is because he's building a new stadium.
You know what? The modern NFL, the modern any stadium, I don't care what sport it is, because we just when I had the chance to go to Atlanta last summer, we went to a Braves game, and the modern stadium has every attraction imaginable right there, right next to it. They make it an entire experience, not just the game itself, right? I feel like it would be so short-sighted. There is nothing around First Energy Stadium.
You just have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
And there's no. I've been going to away Browns games for almost a decade now, and I've seen a lot of stadiums. There are so many that right around the stadium, there's a ton of fan events and interaction and just you bring people down there. It's a whole event, and it's just everything in Cleveland feels so isolated. And I know they had to rush it when they built the stadium in '99. I get that, but we have a chance to do this over and to do it better. And so I was definitely caught off guard by those and not only the staying in the old stadium, but no dome either. Jacob, I don't know what your thoughts are on a dome. I'm pro dome.
And Green Bay developed the area around their stadium to create income. Drew pointing that out. Yeah, dome, dude. You're never going to catch me at a Browns home playoff game until there's a dome. Zero chance. Ross wanted me to come up there. He had an amazing tailgate, not last season, but the year before for the Detroit Lions game. Yeah, no. And it was terrible weather too. So guess who was smart? All right, guys. I think that's it. I think that's it on the news front, man. So let's dive right on into the draft. Let's get in the meat and potatoes of the episode. We're going to use the PFF simulator. I'm going to bring it up here on the board here. I like the PFF simulator the best. My favorite part is that now that I have my setup, I'm going to get a third, by the way, monitor. Right now I've only got 2, but I've actually got the mock over here, so I can still see us in the comments and everything that's going on over here with the mock going on over here. So you can see all these sliders here. We got the Browns. We're going to do it on fast, not turbo. Turbo is insane. I personally think that it's too difficult to try to trade up, because you have to pause it and then unpause it and then try to offer trades and stuff. So I am voting for no trade ups.
Okay.
But I'm perfectly okay with trading down or trading out.
I like it. Jacob's giving me the wheel here, and I'm nervous, guys. I am no film savant like the guy above me over here. So
We'll, picking at 74. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So we're going to go through here. I'm going to talk to Nick about some of these prospects. He's going to talk to me about what he thinks of some of these prospects. We're going to go through all this stuff and have a jolly good time. So let's do it. Let's launch away. Let's talk.
I'm in.
All right. So we are going to start this draft, and we're just going to go through here. And we're just going to patiently wait for the first 73 picks to be made.
Just keep on rolling. I'm just going to kick back in my chair on Thursday night. It's going to be great. And most Friday, by the way.
Ooh. Yeah, So we're on the board at 74. So the conversation, the way I do that, I love that the needs, it's like they didn't even try. They're like just defensive interior. Like we're just going to put this on. You figure it out. You're not taking Tanner. You're not taking a quarterback. So Tanner McKee's off the board. I don't really agree with him being the 32nd ranked player on the board, but here we are. Garrett Williams, I don't think they go corner this early. Andre Carter's bad. He's bad. Stop. He's bad.
Okay. There it is.
He's bad.
How do you feel about homegrown prospect Carl Brooks?
Carl Brooks is fantastic, man. Carl Brooks is fantastic. Carl Brooks is so interesting because he is a defensive tackle that also plays out in the exterior. He's like right around 300 pounds even. And you can see it here, a 92 pass rush grade, but also a 90 run defense grade. Wow. He's got just these violent hands, man. Like he's coming up and he is swatting hands away, heavy hands, bam, bam. And, you've got him outside the tackle, 387 outside, 231 over the tackle. He plays pretty evenly in and out. Yeah, you're talking about him going to a small school in Bowling Green, but the production speaks for itself. 20 sacks in the past 2 years. Wow. This stat right here, look at this. 49 hurries this year.
That is a lot.
49 hurries, 12 sacks, 8 hits. So you're talking well over 50 pressures, 4 batted passes. I like Carl Brooks a lot. He didn't test really well. That was kind of the interesting thing, but he's a lot of fun.
Okay. And I know my fellow namesake, I know Nick Herbig has been another guy who's talked about, which is interesting because you're sitting here on the board and you say, okay, these guys are both here, both can fill this type of need. When we're, and I love that you brought that up, and with Carl Brooks, you saw the growth of his grades from 2020, 2021, and 22. I'd love to see if Herbig has a similar.
Yeah, Herbig's had a pretty good pass. He's got the 70. He doesn't offer much in the run support. I think he's like 240 pounds, something. He's like 240. You see here, they compare him to Joe Schobert.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's true at all because he's a pass rusher. Nick Herbig's a pass rusher who actually plays pretty good coverage.
Interesting. So
if you're looking at that from that angle and you look at Herbig, you're like, listen, this is a pass rusher, like 11 sacks this year, 9 sacks last year. So you're looking around 20 sacks in the past 2 seasons. He's like 240, I think, and that's the thing that worries you. He's going to be a stand-up outside linebacker. He's not TJ Watt talent, but think of TJ Watt's style of player. Okay. Is what Nick Herbig is. He's not going to do anything in the run defense. I don't think this year. But you're also looking in the 3rd round, and you're like, well, this guy. I mean, he's got some really cool tools to rush the passers. So like that's a thing.
Yeah, that's a.
So you've got pass rushers there. Is that where your head is? Is that where your head is?
I think currently the way it looks like this mock draft has fallen, I think I definitely want more pass rush. Right. And it is the Browns' top need. And you've got a couple of prospects here that are sitting high. But Jacob, I know that you have a wealth of knowledge here And so let's say for a minute we're like, okay, we know that we've got a couple options here defensive line wise, but is there another direction you could see them going in?
So I did this last night on my own. Don't ask me how many times I do mock drafts in a single day because you guys won't like the answer. I really, really like Dorian Williams, the linebacker from Tulane.
Oh, okay.
I think you can get him at 98. So the question becomes, how much of a risk are you willing to take? Are you willing to risk him not dropping to 98 and going a different direction? Because if you go linebacker, I like Dorian Williams a lot. Dorian Williams plays with his hair on fire, man. In a rough 2021, but really good 2020 and 2022. Dude just flies all over the field. Yeah, let me get my 97. Look at this. 97 tackles, 36 assisted tackles. If you go watch the bowl game against USC, it's just going to be like, oh, there's Dorian Williams again. Oh, there he is again. Oh, there he is with 2 interceptions, 4 forced incompletions, 36 run stops, 18 coverage stops. He's going to play in the middle of that line. He's going to fly all over the field. He's got the athleticism. He can cover a little bit. Dorian, because I keep looking at this thing and I keep thinking to myself, like, I need a defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. But if I wasn't going to go defensive line, I love Dorian Williams a lot. Jordan Battle's an interesting player, the Alabama safety, just because he plays deep safety, but he can also play in the box, and he played 129 snaps in the slot.
Wow.
He can do a lot. Like, he does it all. I mean, he's Dorian. Oof, man. That's tough. Well, that's another one too. If you wanted to go offense, man, Tucker Kraft, the tight end from South Dakota State.
Okay. Now maybe we could form a backup plan, right? Although I would really like the Browns to get another linebacker, because you're basically, I mean, you've got Sione Takitaki and Anthony Walker on 1-year deals. You don't really think Jacob Phillips is your future guy. So I think that is tough.
It's really tough. You got to remember you're back on the board, on 24 picks. I can see some of these guys still being there. Are your heart set on? I'm fine going defense. I'm fine going defensive line. If you're weighing out the two, I think Carl Brooks just offers you more because he can stop the run.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think you have to keep bolstering and keep churning through that room. I did like Isaiah Thomas, but I don't think that's gonna stop me from drafting Carl Brooks. And there was some nice things from Alex Wright last year, but I don't think we definitively know. And you have Obo. That kind of leans me towards linebacker. I
don't hate Dorian. I was talking to Corey Kennan, who was on the show last week. I was talking to him earlier today, and I said, you know what? I took Dorian Williams at 74 last night when I was playing around, and I don't hate it. And he's like, I don't either, because it's kind of a drop off after Dorian Williams. You can go after Ivan Pace in the 4th round, but the difference between Dorian Williams and Ivan Pace is probably higher than Nick Herbig and then maybe KJ Henry or something like that. There's a bigger drop off at linebacker than I think at defensive line, because I think there's quite a bit of talent at defensive line through the entirety of this draft.
I've wanted the Browns to have their linebacking core solidified. I'm in. You sold me.
Boom. Let's take the Tulane product. Dorian Williams is 74.
I'm in.
Right.
That'd be exciting.
We're back. Look at this.
Oh, well, would you look at that? Value has come to town. I feel very confident.
I don't think you even question that. I think if Carl Brooks is still there, let me see what else is there at edge and defensive interior, just out of curiosity. Defensive interior, you're really waiting until Coburn and Byron Young somewhere on day 3. So you're not worried too much there. Edge, is there anything else at edge that I feel okay about waiting on? I like Colby Wooden.
I just feel like I want to keep bolstering that. You know what? The Browns have been a team that's prioritized the trenches a lot more, and I think with Schwartz there, they'll continue to do so. So from that perspective too, I think Karl Brooks makes a ton of sense.
Well, you got to say I think it plays inside and outside like Alex Wright can, and you can kind of find those guys to piece them together behind Okoronkwo and I don't think there's I don't even think it's a question. I think it's Karl Brooks.
Yeah, it feels great. Let's do it.
I just feel like you get to that position and something like that falls into your lap. You just have to kind of be like, let's see, what are we doing? What are we doing there? All right. So we've addressed linebacker. We've addressed defensive line, and we can still address defensive line somewhere else in the draft. But let's take a scroll down here. Let's see what are you looking at starting here, because you're at this point now where. And I think going into this draft, you don't even really need to draft need. You need to draft talent. And I think Dorian Williams lines up with a position of weakness and talent, as well as lining up Karl Brooks with the same thing. And I think you took advantage of both of those situations. So now you're sitting here and you're going to go, okay, like, what do we got? Michael Wilson's the top player on the board. Michael Wilson doesn't play. He has missed so much time. He's missed so much time in college. I think he's a good player, but you're looking at 4, 5, and 6 games. So I like him. I like him a ton. I like Michael Wilson a ton, but it's like, all right, he played 6 games this year, and it was the most he's ever played in college in the last 3 years. And you're like, okay, so we can't really look at there. I do like looking at halfback. Looking at running back, I'm not huge on Ojimo. If we're going for a defensive tackle from Texas, we'll take Coburn a little bit later on.
You know what? So I do like running back, but I also like going for it. I don't think that's a position that they go this high unless somebody really sticks out.
Let's see. Let's see what's there.
Okay.
Let's see what's there. Yeah. I don't think anybody. I like Keaton Mitchell a ton. So if we're looking at running back, I love to target Keaton Mitchell down here in the next couple of picks or something like that.
It's funny because when we were talking pre-show, I did a little mock draft, and that's one of the picks I was making was Keaton Mitchell.
No, hold up. The greatest thing that has ever happened in the history of this show just happened. Scott is bribing us. He has donated $1.99 for us to take a slot corner or a running back, and I just feel like we got to do it.
Scott, thank you, friend. That's our first donation, a Barking Brown Show first on episode 98.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, Scott.
Scott, you read my mind because I was about to tell him about my new draft crush.
The slot corners? We got a slot corner?
I got you one better. What if I told you that I have a slot corner who is also a deep free safety?
I'm going to start dancing.
I have been dancing around and checking out what's been going on. A guy that I'm late to the game on is Jartavius Martin, the cornerback. He's listed here as a cornerback from Illinois, and of course, who gets all the credit, all the attention in Illinois is Devon Witherspoon, who will probably go top 10 in this draft, and absolutely should get all the attention because he is phenomenal. But check out Jartavius Martin. Look at this. He plays 493 slot snaps this year, 177 as a deep safety, and I think he's the better safety on the team. People want to talk about Sidney Brown and how good he is back there. But listen, I think Jartavius Martin, when he's back in the deep safety, is just as good. Look at this. Look at that. Run defense grade at a 91. This is you want to know what this is? This is Martin Emerson as a slot corner that can play safety. This is a big physical defensive back that just loves to tackle, loves contact. He'll drive you right into the ground. And he's just fantastic in man coverage. He gets lost a little bit in zone coverage. He can lose track of his man. He kind of flips his hips a little bit too early. Granted, we're in day 3 of the draft. That's what you're going to have when you're talking about some of these prospects here.
Yep.
But if you're talking about a guy Look at that. You see that? 56%. That's what they completed against him last year. 56.8% completion percentage last year. 9 coverage stops, only 4 missed tackles, 2 dropped interceptions.
Okay. And you know what? Stop me if you've heard this before. Andrew Berry drafts versatility, right? Like that's something that he has been known to do. I think it's something that the Browns do need. The Browns do still need more in the safety room as well. So if you're telling me Jartavius has the capability to be versatile that way, I think it makes a ton of sense. And we got our first ever donation that has led us towards this selection, and I feel great about that. Money talks.
Thank you for the donation. Seriously, though, like we really appreciate so much for all you guys watching us and any kind of support that you show us. It allows us to continue to make great content like this for you. Yeah. But I saw that and I was like, oh my God, because I was going to tell you about Jartavius Martin. And then, and I had seen Scott had asked about slot corners and running backs. And I had seen the comment and I was just like, and then it popped back up with the $1.99. I was just like, oh my God, we have to do it. So I think you take Jartavius Martin and you say, listen, we have needed deep free safety help. Like I want to focus on that. The slot safety from that pod I watched me and Zach do yesterday. Great question. I'll have to remember, Drew. I do so many pods on freaking draft prospects right now. I can't keep them all straight. But we've needed a free safety for so long. They finally went and got one, a true free cover safety in Juan Thornhill. Well, you don't have anybody else behind him. If Juan Thornhill goes down for any period of time, I think Martin can play there. If you don't know who's going to play in the slot, or you have a situation where someone, I keep seeing comments and getting distracted. I'm sorry, guys. It's been a busy Tuesday for me, but if you don't know, Greg Newsome, Denzel Ward, they miss time. If one of them is missing, so somebody is playing on the outside full time, Jartavius Martin can step in and play the slot. And I think if you're talking about wanting a guy that can play man coverage, lockdown man coverage, it's Jartavius Martin in the slot and as a deep safety. And if you're on board, man, I think this is a home run pick here.
I absolutely am on board. I think I would love to have a little bit more depth in both rooms, especially because you like Denzel Ward. I love Denzel Ward when he's on the field. That scares me a little bit. I know it's not the same, but I'm just saying you're right when you talk about the amount of games that we have missed in the secondary. And so any more insurance, I'm in.
And there was a comment up here when they were saying draft best player available, which is what we're trying to do here. Mm-hmm. There was a comment, but Kenny Miller pointed out, didn't need Emerson. It worked out great.
True.
Yeah,
great
exactly.
Point.
Exactly.
And I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like the Brown, like if the Browns be damn good, you subtract the communication issues and you add in a true free safety in Juan Thornhill. I feel great about it. I really do. Whoa. Hey.
I'm sorry. I was clicking on it at the same time. It must be nice to have bribe money trade for a guy named Blake. I don't even.
Drew, thank you.
Drew, we appreciate you've been here since day one, Drew. We really appreciate you.
Drew, I can't say how much it means. I never really thought that we would.
Well, Zach wants us to do it now. Guys, quit it.
And I have to do this right this time. It's Casey Kinnaman.
Yeah, it's like
there's no cinnamon here, right? So I promised Casey that I would say Kinnaman this time correctly instead of cinnamon. And so, job well done, I guess. Thank you for joining us. And Andrew,
well done.
Drew, thank you.
So, all right, let's jump back over. We still got Dwayne McBride. I'm good on Dwayne McBride at running back. I mean, he's grades off the charts, obviously, but like, it's just something missing there. I like Deuce Vaughn a lot if we're talking running back here.
I saw Tyler is pushing this agenda. I think
he's explosive. He's explosive. I mean, and you look at here, 43 catches, 373, 43, 49 the past 2 years is as a pass catcher. Hell, he had 434 yards in 2020 on only 25 receptions, which is just insane numbers. And 9 touchdowns this year, 18 last year. Sometimes I see some of these college numbers, and you look at the 1,500 yards. He's just he's not an elusive back. He's more of a power back, as you can see. He doesn't have really good.
684 out of 1561 after contact. That I know that's tied for 56. I understand that, but that's a nice chunk.
684 after contact. I didn't see that number at first. Look at that one. 57 forced missed tackles, 1 drop pass.
I mean,
I like Deuce Vaughn a lot if you're talking running back, and he is one of the best available players on the market. Scott does point out Deuce Vaughn is a smaller back. He is a little bit smaller.
Okay.
But you do got to remember, you're taking him to be kind of, the third running back. You're kind of, I don't know if you want him. It becomes interesting because that's where you start to kind of have these conversations where it's like, okay, what do we have at running back available? Deuce Vaughn, I think, is the best one on the board. I will argue, though, Bijan Robinson's amazing at Texas, and he's going to go in the first round. He overshadowed Roschon Johnson, who I think is a really good running back. He ends up only 94 attempts, but nearly 6 yards per carry, 46 missed tackles. Listen to this. He got 94 carries, and he forced 46 missed tackles. You're forcing a missed tackle on every other run, nearly every other run. You're forcing a missed tackle. He's in the zone blocking schemes, 90.
Which is us.
Rushing grade overall is an 88, 78 in the gap. Yards after contact per attempt, 4.28.
That seems pretty okay. So yeah, because he had so he had 545 yards, and 402 of them were after contact. That seems pretty good. That's like 80% of his yards were after How is that possible?
Talent.
That's
Roschon Johnson's a heck of a running back. If we're looking running back here right now, that's the one I would go. Unless we can look at other things on the board, but
I'm ready to push the Roschon Johnson agenda.
You don't care.
I'm pushing. I've seen enough. The stats tell me everything I need to know. I'm pushing Roschon Johnson.
He's a really, really good.
Wouldn't it really fit though, like a guy like of the type of guys Andrew Berry picks? Typically, some of them are with a ton of potential, but haven't fully gotten the opportunity maybe to produce. And
Roschon Johnson is going to be in this sim. He's a 4th round pick. He's a 4th round pick because of Bijan Robinson's in front of him, not because he's a 4th round talent.
And so if you told me that, I would be like, I see that in Obo. I see that in Donovan Peoples-Jones. There's a certain trend there that I believe fits into what Andrew Berry's done.
Yeah. You look at this guy and you say, hey, this guy, he is here not because he can't be that talented of a player, but that's just where he is in his development or usage. And in Johnson's case, it's usage. He just was not used at Texas because Bijan Robinson is
Bijan Robinson.
He's Bijan Robinson.
He's dynasty number 1.
Yeah.
For the fantasy players out there.
Praise. All right, so we are in the 5th round. I'm going to see who's offering us a trade because I always like to look at that.
Oh,
we could slide back to 152.
152. Now, so where I'm leaning, I still would like a wide receiver. I don't know if any are available here. I don't know if this is a good time for a wide receiver, but I definitely would like one. Maybe not our wide receiver time. I could live with that.
I like the Princeton guy, but I don't like him here right now.
Okay. We have not selected a defensive tackle.
I mean, you could call Carl Brooks, but and Scott points this out here that Coburn might be good here. If you're looking for a nose, it's Keandre Coburn.
Okay. All right.
Like, I mean, this dude's like 343 pounds. If you're saying, hey, give me And look, my favorite part is he's got a pass rush win rate of 15.4%, and he had 4 sacks and 24 hurries at nearly 350 bills.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You're not moving Keandre Coburn. So if you're sitting here and you're saying best available player, but also something that we could use, you could use another nose because Dalvin Tomlinson goes down. You don't really have a nose. But the question then becomes, do not let me pick a receiver. You know what, NC? I'm picking a receiver. Not right now, but I'm going to.
That's it. You know what? So everybody's so worried about Dalvin Tomlinson injury, and I am too, right? Because that's one of your thinnest positions, especially nose. And I mean, technically now Texas is going to be in the SEC, so it technically falls in Andrew Berry's love, the SEC, right?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, so I'm having a little fun with it, but I do think it makes a lot of sense to try and fill especially you need a long-term cheap answer of a nose, something because you can't just rely on Dalvin Tomlinson cannot play every snap, right? You're going to need to have some type of defensive line rotation at nose. And so the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yep, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and I don't really see anybody that jumps off the charts at any other position here.
Like I remember when Sheldon Richardson played like some insane amount of snaps that like the Browns were really lucky that he did not get injured. And I just think you need to build, to continue to build. And we know Schwartz likes his defensive linemen. We
just can't have the damn break and run defense.
Nope. So I'm in for Keandre Coburn. That's a great name. I'll just like type, tweet Keandre in all caps as he does something great. That sounds fun.
So I would like to. Oh, there's no trade offers here. Look at that. That sucks because I was going to trade back once we traded down, but here we are. I was going to trade down, but I don't.
Okay, so I know. Well, we've already taken a safety, I believe. So
yeah,
Jacob's not a big fan of Ronnie Hickman.
I hate Ronnie Hickman.
Well, there you go. This does kind of seem like look. Just
no, Scott. I'm so sorry. Scott bribed us again, and I already did it.
Oh well, Scott, thank you. We did take Coburn, right? So that's half of it.
We didn't trade down though, but I'm sorry, I didn't see that comment.
But we're on the same page, Scott.
We're on the same side.
I can't thank you enough, man.
We're on the same side.
So if we can't trade down,
I mean, we can try to trade down, but nobody's offering anything.
Okay. All right. Do you want to try to trade down?
I mean, I would not mind if I tried to trade back to like 150.
Okay.
So
let's see. Let's get a little spicy. Let's see what happens.
So I say, well, you give me 150. I said, we'll give you 150.
Okay.
Will you give me we're in the 5th. I say the Browns have 4 picks next year. And I agree with Scott. Scott says offensive line.
Ooh, all right.
I do think 150 or this pick, because Scott brought up tight end. Tight end, this is a absolutely insanely loaded tight end class. Just insanely loaded tight end class. Right. I think in the 6th round, pick 190, I think you can get a really good tight end there. That's how good I think this class is. And by really good, I mean really good by 6th round pick standards.
Sure. A contributor, maybe.
I'm going to trade back for one, and I'm going to say, will you give me a 6th round pick next year? They won't even give me a 6th round pick next year. They give me a 7. I can trade back 8 spots, pick up a late pick.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Okay, we're
fulfilling the Scott request. We've traded down.
We're going to trade back 8 spaces out of 7th round pick. It is what it is, but it's now 5 picks next year. Let's do that. We're going to trade all. We're going to get back here. Let's look at what we got. Okay. I will say this. Yeah, the cupboard is pretty bare here at tackle. I like Ryan Hayes a lot. I think 191 is way too low. I would take Ryan Hayes here.
Okay. I know he's 6'6". He's 300 pounds.
He's a big guy.
They say his arms are a little too short for offensive tackle. I don't know how true that is, but I do know he is a mammoth of a human.
I do know that in the last 3 years combined, he allowed 3 sacks, and they were all in 2021.
Oh, well, so he did not allow a sack last year.
Yeah, or 2 years ago.
That's a stat. That is okay. Yeah.
He's a big man.
Wow. He allowed a total of 3 hits and 8 hurries last year. Because wasn't Michigan like the best offensive line in the country? Wasn't it? Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay, so see, I'm learning. I'm learning.
He's
Jake.
a left tackle. You want some insurance at left tackle. You want to move him around. You want to do whatever. You need some backup at tackle. I like Ryan Hayes a lot. Let's look just for intents and purposes. Let me look at the guard spot too, because they don't really have any backup interiors. And there he is, the
Juice
golden
Scruggs.
boy himself.
Well, Penn State, we got some Big Ten action.
Juice
going on here.
Scruggs was a center exclusively this year, but was their primary right guard in 2021. The Browns have already met with Juice Scruggs during the combine. They have met with him. You have no backup center. I mean, I think you kind of do in Nick Harris, but Nick Harris, and Jake Burns talks about this a lot. Nick Harris does this little hop step, jump step thing in his pass sets. He's coming back on a reconstructed knee, and Dawson Deaton, your backup center and guard, is coming back on a reconstructed knee. Yeah, they signed Wes Martin. Wes Martin played 1 snap last year. When Wes Martin has played, he's been bad. Now, listen, maybe Bill Callahan gets in there and fixes him. Wes Martin's he's nothing more than a training camp body to me until I see him play out there, because Wes Martin's career has been in the 40s in terms of grades. And he also set a record. He played Aaron Donald a couple years ago, and he had a pass block grade of 0.1. Anyway, that's like a thing that happened. So I'm not putting some faith in him. So I like Juice Scruggs because he can do that, and because you're potentially looking at a replacement for Wyatt Teller maybe next year. I don't know, but I think Ryan Hayes is better.
I think if I had to weigh need right now, I am leaning tackle, because both Conklin and Wills are just hurt. And I don't want to be in this position where we're getting Deshaun Watson killed. So, like I said, Ryan Hayes is 6'6", 300 pounds. That is a large human being that can contribute to defending Deshaun Watson. That seems like a good pick to me.
All right, Ryan Hayes it is. Pick 150. They're going to grade us really bad for that.
Just building up the Wolverines on the old roster.
I don't see school anymore when I do this, but sometimes I think about it. Okay.
Oh, I'm so sad.
What?
Because don't get me wrong, we're pushing the Texas running back. Yes, we're pushing the agenda, but Keaton Mitchell's there. No.
Yeah, Keaton Mitchell at 190 is criminal. He is explosive.
Hey, would you look at that?
God.
Mr. Juice Scruggs. We are just this is a draft of bolstering the trenches. We're bolstering them.
We doubled down a defensive lineman. Can we double down?
I don't see why not. We still need a guard, right?
And we got in a center.
Yeah.
Fuck. All right, let's do it.
I'm Juice
Let's
Scruggs.
double down.
This is a great name too. I want to tweet about Juice Scruggs. I really would like to.
They've met with Juice Scruggs. That's a thing too. Is when you're looking at some of these things, you got to remember, some of the areas that they've gone in, and Okay, there's a couple of different ways. I for so long thought they would take a quarterback, but then they got Josh Dobbs back, which I just love. Mainly because I think it's going to be a lot of fun in the preseason again.
Mm-hmm. That Hall of Fame game Josh Dobbs is going to be running all over Canton. It's going to be great.
God, I hope we can make our way up there.
Ooh.
Let's look.
Network 216 meetup.
I'm hoping we got to look at this tight end class.
I was thinking the same thing.
Here's my guy, and I will talk. There's a couple of them. I like Brenton Strange from Penn State quite a bit.
Okay.
But Payne Durham is criminally underrated. Okay.
I was looking at some Payne Durham before, because full disclosure, I thought I was giving a mock draft like that I was going to give. So I had my whole mock draft done, and Payne Durham was one of the guys I was looking up. He's 22, I believe.
Yep.
Okay, so a little older, but obviously this is late, right? So you're not going to be as
Isaiah Thomas was like what, 23 or 24?
I think you're right.
They took him in the 7th round last year.
Yeah.
Listen, Payne Durham is. Let me get his measurables up here because I always say them wrong. Because he's a big boy.
He forced the 15th most missed tackles of tight ends at 10 with 10.
6'5", 260.
Oh man. And 10 missed tackles.
And he is a nasty blocker.
So on 56 receptions, he forced 10 missed tackles.
Yeah. Drop rate of 3.4%.
Good.
Contested catch rate at 57%. Receiving grade at 70.3. This is a impact blocker. Listen, David Njoku's both. He's an impact blocker and a great receiver. You have a very sneaky good athlete in Jordan Akins. If you're looking for a dude to line up in the backfield and motion out wide, they lined Durham up in the slot. They lined him out wide. They lined him at H-back. He can go all over the field, and here's the thing. He's 260, and if you underestimate his speed up the seam, he will get behind you. He is faster than you think he is. He got a little bit of wiggle in his hips.
8 touchdowns.
And 8 touchdowns. 8 touchdowns.
It's pretty.
He's got a little bit of wiggle in his hips. He's got that powerful blocker. He's got a mean streak. He's got a high motor. He's a better athlete than you think.
And something to consider is Akins is a little older, right? So
Akins is because he played baseball first. And then went to college.
Yeah, and a lot of people have said, that a lot of people have been low on Harrison Bryant and his future with the team. So how do you address that? Let's give him some camp competition. We bring in Payne Durham, right? And we see between Harrison Bryant and Durham who can make the roster. Because I think in general we would expect them to keep 3 tight ends. I think that's a fair assumption.
Yeah, and Payne Durham could find his way onto the practice squad.
Sure. Well, do you think Durham could push Harrison Bryant?
Yeah. I the thing is that because of performance and playtime, I can't remember what the word is, but Harrison Bryant's actually going to make more money than Jordan Akins, I think, this year. So
wow.
I don't think Harrison Bryant's on the roster.
Okay. Well, so in that situation, and I know that Scott's been asking for a tight end. I think it makes a ton of sense to draft a guy. And you noted the strength of the position. Here we are, really late in the draft. And this makes me feel even better, by the way, about picking up that extra 7th. Because if we're talking about Payne Durham making the roster and being a potential contributor right here in the 7th round, then next year having an extra 7th, I feel great about that.
Isaiah Thomas played some meaningful snaps after being a 7th round pick.
True. So did Demetric. Wasn't Demetric Felton the 7th round pick?
No, he was a 6th round pick.
6th round pick, okay.
Because Dawson Deaton and Isaiah Thomas were his first 7th round picks.
Got it. Okay. I just remember because Felton was at the end of that draft, I believe. I believe he was the last pick.
Yeah. The Ryan Hayes pick got an F. That's what usually happens when I take him where I think he deserves to be taken.
It's okay.
But
look at that Juice Scruggs grade.
Yeah, they love the Juice Scruggs grade there. They love the Carl Brooks grade. So we go Dorian Williams, Carl Brooks, Jartavius Martin, Roshan Johnson, Keandre Coburn. We go back-to-back Longhorns.
Love it.
Ryan Hayes. We bolster the lines here, man. We bolster the lines here.
The trenches.
We get some pass rush. We get some nose tackle. We get a really good runner in Roshan Johnson. Ryan Hayes and Juice Scruggs are really good, talented offensive linemen. I think that could turn into something.
I think
and you get Payne Durham just for fun in the final round.
I think so, Jacob. If we can like maybe take a screenshot of that, we could tweet it out from the Network 216 account, and I could ask everyone to roast my picks.
Okay. I have downloaded it.
Thank you. Although I feel a lot better having the guru over here.
I don't, it is.
You know what? I'll tell you what. Because of Jacob, so I've listened to Jacob talk about various guys, various draft crushes over the couple of years we've been doing this together right now.
2 of them are on the roster too.
Yeah, and so I was going to say in fantasy, I drafted Elijah Moore his rookie year, and he had that tremendously nice run that helped me.
When Zach Wilson wasn't playing.
Yep, I made a playoff push because of Elijah Moore filled in for me, and I ended up winning a title in that league, which was in no short part to Elijah Moore. And then last year, I picked up Daniel Bellinger, who was a Jacob draft crush. And yes, he injured his eye, but had a very promising season for a rookie tight end. This guy, he knows what he's talking about. He does.
He's freaking God. I love Daniel Bellinger. That was the most Stefanski tight end I had ever scouted, and then it was just like,
sad. Oh, hey, maybe they will trade him to us because now they have Darren Waller.
Oh my God! What is Josh McDaniels doing? Like my buddy's a big Giants fan, and like that, as soon as that trade goes, I'm texting. I'm like, oh my God! He's like, what? He was driving, so like he was in the middle of driving, and he didn't know, what had happened, and I was like, hard, and he's like, what do you mean we got Darren Waller? And I was like, it was for the pick that you got for Kadarius Toney. He's like, what are you talking about? He thought I was messing with him. I'm not messing with you. I swear to God. He's like, oh, okay.
The Raiders, man, good for them.
Do not demonetize us.
I will not demonetize a thing. Good for the Raiders. I have strong feelings about the Raiders. That's what I'm going to say.
That's what you're going to
say. Jacob, you got anything else for us?
Did you know that Chef Boyardee is buried in Ohio?
No.
Yeah.
Wait, Chef Boyardee is like a real person?
Yeah. It's buried in Ohio.
Well, you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
So we will be posting the draft from the Network 216 account on Twitter. We are trying to grow that up. Get that going, so you can feel free to roast me specifically, because as Jacob said, I'm driving the bus, and Jessica gave the South Park gif of which, poor me if that's the way this goes. But I just want to say to everybody that we have been, I tweeted out last week when we officially became monetized, and just thanked everybody for their support. And this is obviously the YouTube has been growing and thriving, and it's because of all of you great people. And I don't know why you've decided that we are worth your time, but we are so thankful for it. We're pursuing this dream, and you were all making that possible. So just the fact that we got donations in this was our first monetized episode is the Barking Brown Show. It took us 98 episodes. I think that's pretty good, Jacob. 98 episodes were monetized. If I would have told you when we started that it would take us 98 episodes to get here, I don't think I would have believed you. Honestly, I would have been like, no.
Don't go watch that first episode. No. It's on YouTube, but don't you dare.
You should definitely watch that first episode.
God, no, because I was surprised we were even live. I was like, hey, are we live? That's how that episode began. That's how this whole thing began, was me being dumbfounded that we were even live.
You know what? That's the beautiful thing about it. It's been, so for those especially that have been with us from the beginning and have allowed us to grow and improve. I'm still trying to say less working on that. But it's been an amazing journey thus far, and I can't wait to see where it all goes. This has been episode 98 of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Nick. He's Jacob. 2 away from triple digits. Go Browns. Dragon Ball Z. Dragon. Football. Dragon.